Hi Starting Out Solitary, it's Pandora. I'm back with another regular Tuesday video for you guys, and this week our topic is monotheism in paganism. So the word monotheism is derived from the Greek monos meaning one and theos meaning God. So the word monotheism can be defined as a doctrine or belief in a single God. So any of your big three religions, Christianity, Judaism, Islam, are monotheistic religions, and as Lippy Witch mentioned, it's not as common in paganism. However, it does certainly exist, and I'll talk about that a little bit in this video. So what I've noticed in paganism over the last few years or the last decade or so is a rise in things like pantheism, which is the belief that all is God, and a rise in atheism, meaning that there's no God, so you actually don't believe in any God or gods. So I've noticed those things come forward more in paganism, and monotheism has remained quite a minority occurrence in paganism. But yeah, as I said, it does certainly exist, and one form that I've noticed of monotheism in paganism is where you'll get people who don't really have a particularly deity-based practice, so they don't work with personified deity, but they will work with nature as their supreme deity, so that could be seen as monotheism in a sense. And another thing that I've noticed is people who will work with either the goddess, or they will just work with a single matron or patron deity, and then that'll be the only one that they work with, and that would be a form of monotheism in paganism as well. It's far more common in paganism to be a polytheist, and polytheism can be broken up into soft polytheism and hard polytheism. So hard polytheism is sort of the hard and fast belief in multiple deities, and you believe that they sort of exist in their own right, in and of themselves, independently, and so you'll work with them in that way. And then soft polytheism is more a belief that there are many gods, but they're sort of emanations or expressions or archetypes arising from one single god or divine source or spirit, or however you perceive it. So there's been debate as to whether soft polytheism is actually a form of monotheism in a sense, because you do believe in one god, but you just believe that it, I guess, shows itself as different gods. So yeah, I have seen that debated, and that's something to think on. I do think that soft polytheism is distinct from just actual monotheism. But yeah, I have seen it debated. So I could stop here, but that would make for a very short video. So I am going to touch on something that I think relates to monotheism in paganism, and that I think a discussion of monotheism in paganism would be incomplete without. And it's very controversial, but I'm going to talk about it anyway, if for no other reason than if I didn't, it would make for a very short video. I'm only up to 3.5 minutes now, so I may as well keep talking. And that is the concept of Christo-paganism and Christian witches. So some of you may be rolling your eyes or, you know, groaning, and I just ask you to bear with me, because hopefully I've got a little bit of a different perspective on things that will get you thinking. So yeah, it is very, very controversial, very highly debated. People have very strong feelings one way or the other towards whether you can be a Christo-pagan or a Christian witch, and yeah, there's good reasons why people have strong feelings about this, because I think a lot of people who have strong feelings against Christian witches and Christo-paganism come from backgrounds that are very fundamentalist, you know, quite hardcore and very restrictive, and who use their doctrine and belief as an excuse for bigotry, hate, prejudice, discrimination, and a lot of people have been victims of these things, and it has affected them in their lives, and some of them are even traumatized by it. So it's understandable that someone saying they're a Christian witch or a Christo-pagan would get their hackles up. So I don't want to minimize that at all, and I don't want to say that if you're against Christian witches or Christo-paganism that you're wrong. I completely understand your point of view, but all I would ask you to do is to just look at it from a different perspective and to realise that, first of all, not all Christians are like that. I looked into a Facebook page called Unfundamentalist Christians, and I think it's just because somebody on my Facebook page shared something from it, so I had a look on it, and I spent quite a long time going down the rabbit hole of looking at things on this Unfundamentalist Christian Facebook page, because it was like this whole new world opened up to me, where I realised that those people who are very strict fundamentalists and that sort of thing are not the be-all and end-all of Christianity, and that there are people who have more liberal views and beliefs within Christianity. And I think most Christo-pagans and Christian witches would fit into that category more so than the really strict fundamentalist category. I could be wrong, there may be some of them out there, and it's been a very long time since I saw a Christo-pagan or a Christian witch witness to other witches and other pagans about Jesus. I'm not saying that it's never happened, but it's been a very long time since I saw it happen. It actually happened here on YouTube, and there was understandably a very angry backlash towards it. Because I don't think that's right. I don't think that if you are a Christo-pagan or a Christian witch that you should witness to other pagans. I'm not saying that you have to keep it to yourself or that you can't talk about it, but I'm just saying, pardon me, that there's a time and a place and there's a way of going about it. But I guess that could apply to any Christians really, right? And yeah, so I can see why some people have strong feelings about it. I personally think it can be legit. And for me, it comes down to this. If it fits in with your personal framework of your cosmology and ideology, and it works for you, then that's actually really all that matters. It doesn't matter what other people think, whether other people think that it's nonsensical or a contradiction in terms, or that, it's wrong or an oxymoron or it doesn't make sense. If it makes sense to you and it works for you, then it works. And I watched something by a lady here on YouTube called Black Witch S. Her name's Savannah, and she had a video about using the Bible in witchcraft, and she talked about how she doesn't think that it works and she doesn't recommend it and doesn't think that it would work. And her argument was basically based on some key Bible verses that preach against witchcraft. And so she was saying that because these passages and these verses in the Bible preach against witchcraft, that was basically her argument for why using the Bible in witchcraft wouldn't work. And first of all, there's a lot of magical practitioners who would disagree with her based on their own experiences, that they have used the Bible in witchcraft and found it successful and found that it did work. And secondly, her argument was based again on this idea that all Christians take the Bible literally, and that is not necessarily the case. There are Christians who look at the Bible as more metaphorical and allegorical and things like that. So yeah, another thing that I saw on the Unfundamentalist Christians Facebook page was a link to an article called Atheist Making Bible Verses, and it just sort of looked at how, sometimes you'll see hardened criminals and things like that pick up a Bible and all of a sudden they're born again Christians. But then converse to that, you also find people who have been Christians all their lives, were raised Christians, and then they just suddenly stop being Christians. And it's because they actually pick up the Bible and read it and they go, holy, I'd never realized that all this stuff is in there, and I can't reconcile this with having a religion based on this. And the preface of this article was basically just that it goes back to how people interpret the Bible. And so I personally think that it's legitimate to be a Christian witch or a Christo-pagan for that reason, that not everybody interprets the Bible the same. And so yeah, that's all I've really got to say. If you're a Christo-pagan or a Christian witch, your girl Pandora's got your back. If you think it's wrong, I don't really agree with you, but we all come from our own perspective, and we're all just really doing what we need to do to find spiritual well-being, and I think that that's what it's all about. So if you are a Christo-pagan or a Christian witch and it brings you peace and joy, then I'm all for that. And that is one way that monotheism could fit into paganism. if it all makes sense to you and you know, whatever form that Christian witchcraft or Christo-paganism takes for you, if it makes sense to you, then that's really all that matters. So yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching. And thank you so much to our subs hosts from last week. It was fantastic to see all of your really great introduction videos, and I'm so glad that we have subs week. I'm glad that Tara decided to do it, even though it's a little bit more work for her to take on because she just had a beautiful little baby and I love seeing photos of him on Facebook. But yeah, I'm glad that we have subs week because all of our subs are great and it was great to have a week off, but I'm glad to be back now. So yeah, thank you to all of our viewers. It's so great to see people watching and liking and commenting on our videos. I'm sorry that I haven't gotten back to all of your comments. I've been a bit slack, but I'll get back to you. And yeah, so I will see you next week here on Starting Out Solitary. Bye!